Hi, I'm James with British Customs. Today we're going to be installing this off-road foot peg kit on this 2022 Triumph Street Twin. Okay, we want to start by removing these two screws with our 6mm hex bit. And the reason why we have to remove this is because this pin will not come out past the cover. So we need to take it off. You could probably get away with just loosening it, but once you're there, you might as well just take it off, make life easier. So next we got to remove this clip. Just pry it off with a screwdriver. And then we need to remove this pin. If you kind of hold this in, take pressure off of that spring that's inside there, and the pin comes out. So we put the spring, make sure the spring is located correctly. It goes into that hole. All these holes should line up with each other in a straight path. Then on this side, the left side of the bike, we want the flat spot to be down this way. Push the pin in. Put the clip on. We're going to start by putting Loctite on these two screws and then reinstalling the bracket, 6mm hex bit. I'm going to tighten to 24 Newton meters. So if you have this installed and you realize that your peg is like this, or it may even be a little higher, then it's because the spring is not seated in here properly. This should be flat down like that with a lot of tension on it. So right now it's kind of flimsy. So we'll show you how to fix that problem. So to fix this, you need to push the pin back out. You don't have to take the bracket off because once the BC adapter is installed, we can get it out without having to pull the pin all the way out. So this flat right here on the spring needs to be seated at the top of the clevis. If it ends up down here, it actually wants to push the clevis up rather than push the clevis down. So that's what you're looking for, is to make sure that that is upwards. So you may need to keep a little screwdriver there to hold it in place until you push that in. Then, once you get that there, now it's nice and firm. And you'll be able to see that your little flat is up at the top instead of underneath. So on the right side, there's no reason to pull this bracket off. We can get the pin past this cover. So we're going to just start by pulling this clip off. Push the pin out. Pull out the foot peg. Remember these springs, if this falls out when you put it in, all the holes should line evenly when that's put in the hole there. You want to put your flat side down, curved side up. Get your pin, put it back in. Get your clip, put it back on. Okay, now to install these off-road foot pegs, we have dowel pins to hold the alignment in place. They're very small, and you need 4 of them. So you put them in those, you got 4 holes in there. Maybe some little pliers might be helpful in putting these in, if you got big fingers like mine. So here's the holes that these all line up with. So you decide what angle you want to set these at, and then these pins are going to keep them in that spot. Because with the tension on here, they might be likely to move, especially. So we generally like to put them in a flat position to start with, or as close to flat as we can get. But it's really, until you get on the bike and ride it, you're not going to know. But if I go here, it would be actually upwards to the back. So I'd rather be aimed a little bit downward. So it's not perfectly flat, but it's flat with the brake. So we're going to put some blue Loctite. And using our 6mm hex bit, I'm going to install the screw into the clevis. So using the 6mm hex bit, we want to torque this down to 20 Newton meters. If you don't have a torque wrench, then just make it pretty darn tight. Okay, let's start off putting our little alignment pins in. Remember, there's only 4 of them. So don't try and put them in this side first, put them in that side first. And get our closest to flat. That should be close to flat with that, and even with the other side. With our 6mm hex bit, put the screw in, to the clevis, and tight. Get our torque wrench. Tighten to 20 Newton meters. Again, if you don't have a torque wrench, then just make it pretty darn tight. I'm going to start by removing this clip. Push the pin out. Okay, when you pull this out, make sure you keep tension on this with your fingers underneath there, because there's a ball that's spring loaded and you don't want to lose either one of them, because we need them to put the new pegs on. So what you want to do, get yourself a little grease. If you don't have any, you'll still probably be okay, because there's already grease on the spring and ball when you take it off. So now we're going to pull, there's a spring inside here. We need to pull that out. And we're going to put this in the new clevis. And then we're going to put the ball on top of the spring, and the grease will help keep everything in place so you don't lose it. So we're going to put this bracket on here like this. You got to remember, the flat side here goes down. Your curved side goes up when it goes in. So we put this in, and you want to make sure that these tabs are located over the bracket and not over the clevis, because then nothing's going to work properly. Put your pin back in, and now make sure everything's working. Put the clip back on. So that's for the left side, and we are going to head over to the right side and do the same thing. So now we're going to start by removing this clip. And then we're going to remove the pin. Again, you want to keep some tension on there and keep your hands underneath it just in case the ball falls out. You can catch it. So we're going to pull the ball out of there. Going to get some grease. And put some grease in our little hole there. And then we're going to pull the spring out. It's a peg. And put that spring in there. Get a little more grease on top. And put the ball in there. So the one difference we're going to have on the right side is that normally the ball is on the other side, but with the British Customs setup here, we're going to flip it over, and this goes on the top on the right side. So you locate your ball right in there, and we put this in so everything's to the top. Your flat is on the bottom, your curve is on the top. We slide it in. Get everything lined up. Put your pin in so that now that'll go up. If you put this on the bottom and the ball on the bottom, this is going to go downwards instead of upwards. And that's it. We just put the clip back on. And now we can install our pegs. We want to start by putting our little alignment pins into the clevis. Now you only need 4 of them. You get extras in the bag, just in case you lose one. I'm going to try for our closest to flat position. Looks good right there. Put on some blue Loctite. Screw it in. Get our torque wrench. Torque it down to 20 Newton meters. And move over to the other side and do the same thing. Start by putting our pins in. Install this as close to flat as we can get. Install the screw into the clevis. Get our torque wrench, tighten to 20 Newton meters. And that's the off-road foot pegs installed.